Welcome back to Adversary, a Campfire Story, a four-part miniseries by Jered Gering. I am Jered Gering, the author, and I am reading to you today Episode 3. Episode 3, The Heights. Aiden loved the Tread Scouts. According to his dad, scouting was in his blood, which was kind of gross but mostly cool. He loved building fires, he loved pitching tents, and he loved tying various knots with ropes he wove together all by himself to earn his master ropes work patch. Aiden liked being a Tread Scout and he liked ropes in general, but he did not like the campground's brand new team builder ropes course. All the scouts and adults were harnessed and carabinered to a massive obstacle course of rope-based team building activities. At the beginning, they had to cross ropes going in various directions at different angles across a gap between platforms. Another stage involved them balancing across a big log, which wasn't too bad. The last stage they just completed involved climbing a cargo net a few stories into the sky, which Aiden figured had to be at least 5 trillion feet off the ground. Aiden had pushed himself and climbed every inch, determined not to look down. His dad was right behind him, and he coached Aiden with each step and handhold. Timmy was ahead of Aiden, and he knew if Timmy did something that he didn't have the guts to do, Aiden would not live down the teasing. It's do or die, Aiden thought, as he rolled onto the high platform. He breathed heavily and started to look around as his dad finished crawling up. Fewer trees reached this height, and the trees Aiden could see were only the tops. Some trees he looked down on their tops. Down! Don't look down! Don't look down! Aiden started to shake. No, sir, Aiden did not like the team builder ropes course. One of the trained guides, a girl on a men's camping trip, announced the final phase of the ropes course, and it was something Aiden had been dreading all day. Hey campers, you've reached the top, and you're almost through the course. Give some high fives to your teammates. But then you'll have to brace yourself. The last challenge is the zip line to the bottom of camp. Most of the boys cheered, but Aiden was too focused on trying to stop shaking. One of the older kids volunteered to go first. The guide unclipped the carabiner and attached the harness to the zip line. After a couple of other safety checks, the boy jumped off the platform, flying through the sky across the clearing in the middle of the campground. The boy hollered in delight, filming the whole thing on one of the adults' phones. It's fun, not scary. I can do this. The next kid was strapped in, and he was 8 like Aiden. When he stepped off the platform and started flying, his screams were not fun hollers. He squealed like a pig. Looking closely at the boy, Aiden thought for sure he was peeing, raining down on the camp below. I can't do this, Aiden whispered, and he started shaking again. Yes, you can, said Travis, Aiden's dad. I'll be right behind you. I just want to leave. Travis put a hand on Aiden's shoulder. The only way out is through the zip line, unless you want to do the whole ropes course again, backward. Aiden's eyes widened and he shook even more. Okay, I'll try. He watched the whole time when it was Timmy's turn. He even cheered for his friend, who didn't look scared at all. Timmy made it safely to the bottom and he joined the other campers like ants at the landing below, beside a flickering campfire a short walk away. That made Aiden smile. I'll be with my friends at the fire before I know it. He thought about finding a pine cone to throw in the fire, and he smiled even more. It's your turn, buddy, said the female guide. Why is she even allowed to work here? He hadn't seen any girls the whole trip. He stepped forward and she attached him to the zip line and double-checked the harness's safety. You're all set. Step off the platform when you're ready. Step off? I have to step off? She laughed. I'm not allowed to push you. You can do this. Aiden's dad shouted. You got this, Band-Aid! Aiden walked to the edge and looked down. He started shaking again. He imagined his first time jumping into a deep pool, the first time he had to fall in, and then he got used to it and could jump like normal. Just like a pool, he said, leaning into the zip line. Finally, he fell forward and dropped into the craziest ride of his life. It was a little scary, but it was more thrilling than anything. He smiled and cheered, the air blowing through his clothes and hair. When he approached the landing platform, he saw his friends cheering for him at the fire, and he hollered louder. The guide at the bottom helped Aiden out of his harness, and he watched as his dad rode the zipline. They soon joined the rest of the group at the fire, one of the campground's many community fire pits, sometimes lit and tended by staff members. Aiden threw a pine cone in and watched it burn as they all talked about the zipline and their other favorite parts of the ropes course. Frank was in the middle of what was shaping up to be a probably funny story, but Aiden gasped and interrupted him. Look, over the platform! Mr. Grizzly, over here! The other kids saw what Aiden did. The mountain man was talking with the guide at the bottom of the zipline. All the kids joined in, calling to Mr. Grizzly. He smiled and walked over to their fire, raccoon tail bobbing from his hat as he walked. His whole outfit seemed to be made of leather, with strands of brown fringe dangling from the arms and other seams across the coat and pants. Hello, young woodsman. What are you doing? Aiden asked. Did you ride the zip line? No, not today. I was asking if anyone at this campground has any rope or twine. The general store out yonder was out of stock, but I need some rope to finish my lashing. Timmy yelled, You need rope for your eyelashes? Oh, I know what lashing is, Aiden said. Lashing was part of getting the rope works patch. Mr. Grizzly smiled. Lashing is when you tie things together. I'm making a chair out of sticks I found around my campsite, and I'm almost done tying all the branches together, but I need just a little more to finish the job. Travis pulled a small roll of twine out of his pocket. Got some right here, Mr. Grizzly. Dad, you just had twine with you this whole time? You never know when someone will break an arm, especially on a ropes course. I figured it'd be easy to make a splint with some twine. He tossed the twine to the mountain man. Thank you for sharing, he said, his voice warmer and deeper than the fire. He slipped the ball of twine into his leather pouch and started walking away. Timmy called, Wait, Mr. Grizzly, aren't you going to continue the story? The mountain man doubled back with a smile. Would you like that? Frank sighed loudly, but Travis said, We have plenty of time before I need to be back at camp. Wait, Mr. Grizzly, said Aiden. Who's Yeshua? I thought he was Jesus, but I'm not too sure. Timmy yelled, Don't be dumb. Obviously he's Jesus' brother. Duh. The mountain man said, Sorry to confuse you, men, but Yeshua is what I used to call him. We call him Jesus today because that's his name in English, but his Aramaic-speaking friends and family called him Yeshua. Greek speakers might have called him Asis, which is the root where Jesus comes from in English. Timmy said, But why couldn't he just make bread from the rocks, get strong, and punch Lucifer in the face? Mr. Grizzly met Timmy's eyes. Good question, young one. This story is a mysterious one, and many have wondered about this question and others. I would remind you, however, that Jesus said he only did what he saw the Father doing. He was the king, but he showed us what it looks like to live a life submitted to God the Father. Timmy said, Oh, I get it. The Father wasn't eating bread, so Jesus couldn't, right? Not exactly, but you see more clearly than many. Wait, said Aiden. Jesus is the rightful king, right? So he could have totally done whatever he wanted. But he didn't because the Father told him not to. But he could have, right? That's why it was so tempting. Right, said Mr. Grizzly. It doesn't look like sin, but Jesus knew if he went about trying to prove himself to the enemy, he wouldn't have time to do everything the Father wanted him to do. Aiden said, But he could have proven himself to the enemy. He could have shown Lucifer that he's really God. So why didn't he? When someone is certain about something, it doesn't actually matter what other people think about it. Jesus not only knew who he was, but he just witnessed his Father at the baptism publicly declaring that he's the Son. Oh, and the Holy Spirit did this dove thing. Timmy yelled, Review over. I want to find out what happens next. Frank shushed Timmy, but Mr. Grizzly said, Yes, story time. Let's begin. Once upon a time. Once upon a time, there was a fire-breathing dragon. He was a fearsome beast, and he frightened everyone in his domain. He ate whatever he could and destroyed the rest. He was hateful, but he was also sly. At one time, he had appeared as an innocent serpent in a particular garden. When his manipulations were complete, the world was changed forever. He wanted to consume and devour until all would see his glory. All would worship Lucifer, the bright morning star. The only one standing in his way was an emaciated man sleeping in a wilderness cave. Where did my temptations go wrong? He thought about how he deceived the first man and woman. It wasn't hard to convince the fragile image bearers to distrust God's instructions, especially when he'd already given them dominion over the earth. Surely it shouldn't be hard to get the weak son to show his weakness. This so-called king ought to feel indignation at my very approach. He ought to burn with anger that I'd even suggest his weakness. When he steps out in pride, he'll be vulnerable enough for me to strike. The dragon, Lucifer, stood in the form of a man, dressed in black armor, a golden bejeweled crown upon his head. He waited for his next chance to oppose the one he called weak. He watched the cave and scanned the surrounding wilderness. Angels held vigil, but they were still far away. Surely not close enough to be of help. Would they be able to intervene if Lucifer moved to strike the man in the flesh? Lucifer knew it wouldn't be worth the risk. Besides, physical weakness was only one consideration. With his next attempt, he would exploit man's other vulnerability. So he waited. After several hours, the man called Yeshua awoke from sleep and stood outside the mouth of the cave, facing Lucifer. You're still here. Shalom, son of man. Yeshua's eyes narrowed for a moment, but then he smiled. I am Shalom. Lucifer cleared his throat. You are surely famished and near to death. Come, eat. You do not tell me what to do. My father does. Your father wants you to starve? I don't need to make bread. It is food for me to do my father's will. You need bread if you want to live. He laughed. I am the bread of life. Lucifer grunted. Yeshua said, Do you have any more tests for me, adversary? Lucifer clenched his fist. Who says it's a test? Come, I want to show you something. Lucifer drew his sword from the scabbard at his waist. The sword appeared to be made of sharp, twisted shadow. He walked several paces into the wilderness, and he heard Yeshua walking behind him. Lucifer pointed his long sword straight ahead, and he flicked his wrist so the sword drew in the air the shape of a star. The traced line hovered in the air, and a star of twisted darkness. The points of the star glowed red, and the light from those points swirled into the darkness and made a pentagon-shaped portal upright in the middle of their path. The mix of light and darkness continued to swirl as the shape of the portal solidified. Lucifer held the sword upright in his right hand and pulled back. The pentagon portal filled with light, and a clear image rendered on the other side, the temple's stone roof. Lucifer ducked into the pentagon and stepped through. Yeshua followed. They were no longer in the wilderness. Now they stood on top of the temple in Jerusalem. The two walked without words, Lucifer leading the way. No one else was on the roof at this time, but there was an entrance down to the main sanctuary. The sanctuary was not where Lucifer walked. He led Yeshua to the edge of the roof, which was surrounded by a high wall. They approached the stairs, climbed to the top, and continued walking till they stood on the far southeast corner. This side of the temple sat on the edge of a ridge, and here at the parapet they looked down at the Kidron Valley, which extended all the way to the Mount of Olives. Lucifer said, Look down, son of man. Yeshua stepped to the edge. Angels stood stationed on different parts of the wall. Some were also stationed on the ground below, and still others flew and circled them in the sky. They hadn't intervened so far, but if they did... Lucifer cleared his throat. Son of man, the people in this temple don't worship you. Most people in the city don't even know who you are. Yeshua said nothing. This temple is grand, beautiful even. If I were the Son of God, a place like this is where I would reveal myself. All creation, including men and angels, would see my glory. Yeshua stood still, and he remained silent. At this moment, he didn't even look hungry, and that made Lucifer angrier than it should have. You're weak, Lucifer said. You've shown nothing but weakness for 30 years. You couldn't save your father. Your brothers and sisters know you're nothing special. Yeshua was granite. You know this temple well, son of man. You think I didn't see it 18 years ago when you hid from your parents and played scholar in the temple after the Passover? You amazed some of the teachers of the law, but you haven't tricked me. Yeshua whispered to himself, This is my son in whom I am well pleased. Lucifer stomped. If he's pleased, why did he hide you in the wilderness to waste away? Why did you bring me here, adversary? You called this place your father's house. You should thank me for bringing you home. You're more at home here than in that carpenter's house, but the Spirit didn't drive you home. You were driven to the wilderness to die of hunger. Adversary. Yeshua didn't actually yell, but the voice of the word pushed Lucifer back several steps along the wall. Lucifer stumbled. He righted himself and returned to Yeshua's side. You are here to prove yourself. Lucifer stepped off the edge, and previously unseen wings extended from two slits in the back of his armor. He hovered at Yeshua's level with confident flaps, the air blowing the man's hair like wind. He turned to face the one he called Son of Man and spoke one more time. If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, He will give His angels orders concerning you, and they will support you with their hands, so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. Yeshua said, It is also written, Do not test the Lord your God. The words gusted from his mouth like a burst of wind, forcing the devil back. His wings went limp, and he began to fall. Lucifer regained control of his flight only moments before hitting the ground. He flew up to the wall and drew his shadow sword once more. Lucifer looked Yeshua in the eyes. This isn't over. The end. No! Yelled the kids. Timmy said, You literally just said this isn't over. It isn't, said Mr. Grizzly. One chapter remains in this curious tale. For today, the story is done. I need to return to my camp. Thanks again for the wine. After more protests and goodbyes, Mr. Grizzly disappeared into the woods. Frank said, I didn't think there were any campsites over there. Timmy said, You probably read the map wrong. Frank pulled Timmy aside, probably to talk to him about disrespecting his dad in public. Aiden had heard Frank talk to his son about that a few times before. All right, scouts, said Travis, let's get back to camp. We have a couple hours of free time, then I'll need some of you to help cook dinner. As they walked, Aiden thought about his day, and he thought about the story. It was scary standing at the top of the zip line, but how much scarier would it have been to stand at the top of the temple wall? He considered how after 41 days of not eating, Jesus was still strong and confident. Aiden remembered his prayer from yesterday. Jesus, I want to be that strong too. After a few minutes, Aiden's thoughts turned to Mr. Grizzly. How does this man know so much about Jesus and the devil? Mr. Grizzly's words echoed in Aiden's mind. Yeshua is what I used to call him. What's that supposed to mean? He's not saying he used to call Jesus by the name Yeshua while Jesus was on earth. Nobody's that old, right? And with only a day and a half left on the camping trip after today, Aiden had one more burning question. Will we get to see Mr. Grizzly one more time to hear the end of the story? End of episode 3.